Kirk is the president and founder of Performance Freediving International. He founded as an educational organization championing safety in freediving back in January of 2000. He's trained 6 world record holders to 20 world records since 1997, and he sits on the board of advisors of DiveWise and Terry Moss's Safety Vest Initiative. He's currently co-developing a spearfishing program with Sherry Day and Darrell Long, and as many people have said, he's probably one of the best freediving instructors in the world, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you Kirk Crack.
Well, thank you, Bill, for the introduction, and to Gary and everyone for setting this up. I think it's a unique opportunity, certainly to address a good audience, people who are interested in freediving. So my topic is going to be freediving. It starts with an F, but it isn't necessarily a 4-letter word. What I'd like to do in this talk is kind of give you an idea of different types of freediving besides spearfishing. And spearfishing's fun, and it's a great way to get fish, a nice sustainable way. And there are different types of freediving. And what I specialize in is what we call kind of the performance aspects, meaning we tend to work to maximize our time, depth, and distance. And we do it in different competitions and world records and that sort of thing. But you know, I did start this organization in January of 2000 after working with several world record holders, because what we realized was there was some education out there to really teach you how to freedive and be good and get deep, but very few times was the issue of safety ever brought up. So that's going to be a little bit about my talk, but I'm really going to let Julie talk about the safety aspects of it. She's started an amazing organization called DiveWise, of which I'm lucky to have been asked to be on the board of advisors for. As Bill was saying, I'm also on the board of advisors for the safety vest that Terry Moss is doing. I've been a vice president for our international association that governs the sport of competitive freediving, as well as I've been a judge and founded a number of different programs. And as Bill was saying, I've trained numerous world record holders to 20 different world records. And the gentleman you see at the top right-hand corner, that's Brett LeMaster, and he in December of 2000 or in December of '99, he did a depth record, self-powered, to 81 meters, 267 feet. And if you had asked me then how long until we break 100 meters, I'd have told you it was a decade away. And in fact, we are now doing 122 meters from a former student of mine. So what we're capable of is absolutely amazing, and I want to address that, but I want you to take home, most importantly, that none of this is done recklessly, that there is a safety element in everything we do, and we have to keep that in mind. Primarily, we're educators. We take pride in teaching a number of different programs that really stress, first and foremost, safety and problem management, understanding that, and then the byproduct of that is hopefully getting more time, depth, and distance out of it. Just in the audience, how many of you are avid spearfishermen or freedivers? Let's just get an idea. How many of you aren't freedivers? Okay, so it's, yeah. How many of you are scuba divers? For chance. So let me ask the freedivers in the audience, how many of you have ever done a dive and come up and felt a little lightheaded or dizzy, saw sparkles and stars? Be honest about it. Okay, so we won't go past that one yet, right? So what you have to understand is you are riding the edge of blackout at that point. And that'll be something else we'll get into, and again, Julie's going to address it as well. So we really became educators to teach people about what it is that you're doing, why it's happening, what do you feel, and how do you do this safely. That's the important thing. So I've been running these programs since '97. At the end of this year, we'll have taught 3,500 people. That's 250 programs. You'll see we've trained Tiger Woods. He was our student in 2005 in the Cayman Islands, as well as David Blaine, if you saw him, the magician, tried to stay in a sphere for 7 days, completely submerged in 2006. And then recently we're on the Oprah show. Now you're seeing 17 minutes and 4 seconds. He was breathing up on 100% oxygen and then did a 17-minute breath hold. In training in the Cayman Islands prior to that, he had done over 20 minutes in a breath hold. So it's pretty amazing what we're capable of. when we're freediving in many different ways. So for those of you who aren't freedivers, what is it? Well, it's not scuba diving without pain. It's breath hold diving, or it's apnea. So whenever I say the term apnea, people think, oh, that sounds really strange, because we always associate it with sleep apnea, right? And that's essentially a medical condition that leads to an involuntary cessation of breathing. And so in Europe, they call our sport apnea. So you'll see and hear the term static apnea, which means simply floating face down for maximum time, or dynamic apnea, which means horizontal distance. It is like an advanced form of snorkeling, although I don't like to say that, because snorkeling is really kind of being on the surface and enjoying what you see from the surface. Soon as you use the surface to breathe up a bit, you descend down and you get to 2 equalizations, or about 10 to 15 feet. You really are becoming a free diver, and there are different risks associated with that. So the history of freediving is quite amazing, and really it kind of gets back to sustenance again. And what the other guys were talking about in spearfishing is that we can date freediving back 4,500 years. So there's earthenware plates that have these pearl inlays within it. And the only way we would have got those is by actually descending under the water and getting the oysters and the clams off and getting at those pearls. So the Ama pearl divers of Japan and Korea are very famous for this. And it's primarily the women that do all the work, because back then the men thought they had bigger lungs, so therefore they should be the freedivers who did the work while the men tended the boat. And there's also times in the Greek and Roman soldiers that used freediving. In 2002, I met an Ama pearl diver at a Pacific Cup competition, and she was 82 years old, still freediving 6 days a week, not because she had to, but because that's what she loved. She stood about that tall, and we watched her go out and working in 60 feet of water and doing 1.5 to 2 minute dives at 82, and I thought that's pretty impressive. And she had been doing it since she was 23, I think, is what it was. So there's a long history of freediving. Now, when we talk about kind of the freediving that I do as opposed to freediving and spearfishing, the first world record happened in 1949. You see this gentleman here at the top, right there, Raimundo Buccheri. He was a Hungarian-Italian Air Force captain. His buddy was a hard hat diver, so he wore the hat and was surface supplied. And Raimundo bet him 100 lira he could swim down to 100 feet. And so his buddy went down to 100 feet with 100 lira in a sealed tube, and he went down and grabbed it. So that was really kind of the first freediving depth world record. The 1950s really became the birth of spearfishing. You had the San Diego bottom scratchers, Wally Potts, and all of those guys out on the West Coast. You had it developing the East Coast and down here. In the 90s or in the 80s, we saw kind of the birth of recreational freediving. Not going down to hunt fish or get oysters or all of that sort of thing, but as a means of recreation. And so it became very popular, but the 90s really saw competitive freediving come along, the stuff we specialize in. And that's when we saw new records and that sort of thing being broken in it. But at the same time, safety had to always keep up with this, because we got deeper and deeper and different risks present themselves, and so we had to develop different safety protocols with that. So the dawn of the 21st century is interesting from my sport's point of view, in that internet technology brought us all together. I remember getting this email in 99, said, wouldn't it be, actually it was the end of 98, wouldn't it be great if we all met in Egypt and went to a competition and competed and exchanged ideas? And I thought, yeah, absolutely, let's go. So Brett and I left, went to Egypt, and it was amazing to see all these different ideas on training and techniques, but also different safety ideas. And so a lot of ideas were exchanged there. And really